The giant factory farming industry in America, a growing number of critics say it's cruel to animals. It creates pollution that devastates our environment. And Americans are literally eating themselves to death. A national diet heavy on meat and dairy, which are artificially cheap because factory farms are subsidized by federal dollars, your tax dollars. Next week, a groundbreaking event, the National Conference to End Factory Farming, will be held in Arlington, Virginia, focusing on three huge issues: health of Americans, pollution, and ending the abuse of farm animals. I am joined by Brian Walsh, senior reporter at Time Magazine, who has written about factory farms in a groundbreaking story entitled "Getting Real About the High Price of Cheap Food." Thank you for joining us, Brian. What's the connection between obesity, agricultural subsidies, and, in your opinion, factory farming?
Well, essentially, agricultural subsidies, that billions of dollars of taxpayer money that you mentioned, really helps allow farmers to produce at extremely low cost a lot of the staples that are now a part of the American diet, whether that's corn, or the corn that then goes, and other grains that go to create meat, produce meat in a way that's much cheaper, more concentrated than you might otherwise. The result being, of course, you have very, very low cost meat. You have snack foods, other foods that are fattening and not very good for you, that take advantage of that very low cost grain, and the result is a diet that a diet that's not good for you, that's actually cheaper, and unfortunately, actually, what you don't end up seeing subsidized often are vegetables, fruits, other foods that would be a lot better for you.
Yeah, and you're seeing animals how they are treated in America's factory farms, and then you're also seeing animals the way they're supposed to be. So we're showing you different kinds of imagery. To learn more about this issue, you can go to farmsanctuary.org. And again, we're showing you video of factory farming in America today. It's not pretty. You're going to be the keynote speaker at the National Conference to End Factory Farming. Tell us what your reaction is when you found out, for example, that hogs were packed in cages so tightly there's no room to move, and that creates lagoons of manure that in turn impacts pollution. So that's one aspect of the problem, is it not?
Absolutely. That's just one part of it. You can look at the waste problem you mentioned. I mean, billions of tons of waste, more manure being produced by our farm animals than waste from human beings. And it's definitely not often very pleasant to live next to. And then there's a larger problem. You often have to use antibiotics and other drugs to keep these animals healthy when they're being raised in these kind of conditions. That can actually have an impact on human health as well, because it can lead to the rise of resistant bacteria coming out of those farms that can actually then threaten human beings as well.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people are now suddenly becoming educated about this issue.